Let me tell you something right now. What just happened between Ottawa and Washington is not business as usual. It's not another policy spat or another diplomatic handshake where Canada nods politely and falls in line. No, this time, Prime Minister
of
Mark Carney
redefining our
just did the
relationship with the United
unthinkable.
States. That's
He drew a
ongoing,
hard
but
red
working
line,
very much
and in
in
doing
partnership
so,
around
he
this
cut
table
deep into
in
Canada's
terms of our.
dependence on the United States. And trust me, the White House is not happy about it. In fact, insiders are saying President Donald Trump is absolutely furious. So, what exactly happened? Why is the world watching the showdown so closely? And how could this moment redefine Canada's place in the world? Stick with me, because the story you're about to hear is bigger than a simple trade disagreement. It's about power, sovereignty, and whether Canada is finally stepping out of America's shadow. For decades, Canada has lived in the orbit of the United States. From defense and security to trade and foreign policy, Washington's influence has shaped almost every major Canadian decision. The U.S. has been Canada's biggest trading partner, its military shield, and its closest ally. But it's also been a cage, one where Canada's independence has often been sacrificed for American interests. Every Canadian Prime Minister has known that walking too far away from Washington carries risks. Economic retaliation, diplomatic isolation, pressure from the Pentagon. It's always been easier to stay in line. Until now. Mark Carney came into office promising something different. A more independent, more resilient Canada. And in the last few weeks, he's quietly been moving the pieces into place. First came the announcement of a sweeping Buy Canadian policy, a direct counter to Trump's America First agenda. Ottawa declared that billions in government contracts would now prioritize Canadian companies, Canadian workers, and Canadian innovation. That alone rattled Washington, but Carney wasn't finished. Then came the biofuels gambit. Carney pledged $370 million to turbocharge Canada's canola and biofuel industries, positioning Canada as a competitor, not a follower, in the energy race. The timing was no accident. The U.S. has long dominated the sector, and Trump has been pressuring allies to align with American producers. Carney's move was a statement. Canada will not be dependent on U.S. energy dictates. It will build its own future. But perhaps the boldest step came in the realm of defense and foreign policy. For decades, Canadian defense strategy has leaned heavily on the U.S. military umbrella. Trump himself has mocked Ottawa for free riding on American protection. But now, Carney is charting a different course. Canada will increase its own defense spending, strengthen its independent military capabilities, and pursue partnerships outside the narrow U.S. framework. And when Carney addressed Canada's stance on the Middle East, particularly in response to controversial Israeli actions that Washington quietly backed, it became clear that Ottawa was no longer afraid to break with American policy. That was the final straw for Trump. Imagine being in the Oval Office when Trump was briefed. Sources describe him slamming his fist on the desk, raging that Canada was betraying the United States and demanding retaliation. But here's the twist. This time, Trump doesn't hold all the cards. Canada's economy is more diversified than it was a decade ago. Its ties with Europe and Asia are stronger. And its people, ordinary Canadians, are tired of being treated like America's junior partner. Carney is playing a dangerous game, yes. But it's also a calculated one. By cutting Canada's dependence on America, he's not abandoning the relationship, he's redefining it. He's saying Canada can be an ally, but not a servant. A partner, but not a puppet. And this subtle shift is why Trump is so enraged. Because for the first time in years, a Canadian leader isn't asking Washington for permission. He's making bold moves on his own terms. There's another layer to this story that we cannot ignore. It's not just about policy or economics. It's about personality, leadership style. The clash between two men who couldn't be more different. On one side, you have Donald Trump, fiery, impulsive, ruled by ego, and fueled by loyalty tests. He thrives on dominance, thrives on keeping allies guessing, and he wields unpredictability as a weapon. He wants Canada to obey because, to him, that's what strength looks like. Submission from allies, fear from rivals, and applause from his base. And then, on the other side, there's Mark Carney, measured, disciplined, trained in the world of finance, and deliberate with every word. He doesn't throw punches wildly, he calculates. Every move is thought out, every risk weighed, every step carefully staged. To Trump, that kind of calm discipline is infuriating because it means Carney can't be baited. He doesn't take the insults personally. He just keeps building the framework for Canadian independence, brick by brick. This is what makes the situation so dangerous and so fascinating. Trump is used to Canadian leaders blinking first. He's used to late-night calls where Ottawa asks, "What do you want us to do?" But Carney? He isn't making those calls. He's not begging for exemptions or pleading for approval. Instead, he's telling Canadians, "We don't need America to survive. We need ourselves. We need our own strength." Now, let's be clear. This won't be easy. The US is still Canada's biggest market. Any disruption in trade could send shockwaves through Canadian industries. American tariffs, restrictions, or sudden border slowdowns could hurt ordinary workers, farmers, and businesses. But Carney seems to believe the risk is worth it. That building a stronger, more independent Canada is the only way forward in a world where Trump's America cannot be relied upon. And here's the suspenseful part. What comes next? Will Trump lash out with tariffs and punishment, escalating into a full-blown trade war? Will he try to isolate Carney on the world stage, painting Canada as an unreliable partner? Or could this gamble force the US to finally treat Canada with the respect of an equal, rather than the compliance of a subordinate? One thing's for sure, Canadians are watching closely. Many are cheering Carney's boldness, finally seeing a prime minister willing to stand up to Trump. Others worry the cost of independence could be too high. But no one can deny the stakes. This isn't just another headline. This is the kind of moment that defines a leader and possibly even a nation's future. Carney has thrown down the gauntlet. Trump is furious. And the world is waiting to see who blinks first. So, as we move forward, ask yourself this. Is this the moment Canada finally breaks free from America's grip? Or is it the beginning of a dangerous standoff that could backfire? Whatever happens, history will remember this as the day Mark Carney made his move, and Donald Trump realized Canada was no longer willing to play the role of obedient neighbor.